November 15, 1999.
Is there a fight over there? See him right there in the yellow?
It's the fist fight that's put Decatur, Illinois on the hot seat.
We will not tolerate drugs, and we will not tolerate fighting and violence.
I didn't feel that none of the boys should have been out for 2 years.
And ignited a nationwide debate about get tough policies in our schools.
The object of public education is not to lock people out, but to lock them in and give them a chance and an opportunity to be productive citizens.
How one community struggles to balance discipline and school safety.
We're frightened. We are a frightened people right now.
Tonight, America's sons. Is zero tolerance the best answer to school violence?
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Eisenhower High School in Decatur, Illinois, Chris Bury.
These are the football stands where nearly 2 months ago, some students took part in that ugly fistfight, sending parents scrambling to protect young children. The punishment was swift and severe. The school board initially expelled 6 students for 2 years. Another boy withdrew to avoid the stigma. The school board here, like 80% of those across the country, had approved a resolution calling for zero tolerance of any violence. The echoes of Columbine and Paducah and Pearl, Mississippi weigh heavily on those trusted with keeping children safe in school. At the same time, the punishment meted out here to 6 African-American teenagers raised questions of fairness and proportion. To the dismay of some and to the delight of others, Jesse Jackson got involved. Inevitably, that attracted the cameras and turned up the heat. A local prosecutor filed criminal charges against the boys. Racial tensions simmering below the surface bubbled up. Now, under an unwelcome spotlight, Decatur finds itself forced into taking a long, hard look at how a policy of zero tolerance applies to adolescents in high school and whether it really works.
It's a town of about 85,000 people in a county of 120,000. It's a community that has a fairly large industrial base. It's definitely an urban town. The town itself has about 18% African American, but the school district has approximately 48% African American. So the school district definitely is more diverse than the overall community is.
Decatur's school system already had plenty on its plate. Dwindling enrollment, tight budgets, school closings, and in the last few years it has been under pressure from parents ever more fearful of violence, according to the school board vice president.
The board has been very clear that we want to have a safe environment for our kids. We will not tolerate weapons on the schools. We will not tolerate drugs. And we will not tolerate fighting and violence.
September's matchup between rival Decatur schools was among the first night games in that zero-tolerance environment. Ironically, the games had been moved to the afternoons about 10 years ago because of rowdiness at night. When this fight broke out, and only about a third of it was captured on tape, the level of violence was in the eye of the beholder.
When I looked at that video, that is not a boys will be boys kind of confrontation. I think we were very fortunate that no one was hurt seriously.
There's no fight that's a pretty sight. But even after watching the video, I could not, in my own heart, expel those students for 2 years.
But Jeffrey Perkins was the only school board member who voted against a 2-year expulsion, the most severe punishment possible. The expelled students would get textbooks, but no other alternative education except for what tutoring they could find on their own. 2 of the boys had been on track to graduate. Their mothers could not believe it.
I cried because I sit there and I said, you have got to be kidding. My son had made it to be a senior.
They rendered him the death sentence. He had nothing after that, nowhere to go.
In Decatur, like most places, opportunities for those without high school diplomas are bleak. The 3 alternative schools in the area are already filled to capacity, and there are waiting lists to enroll. The county jail, too, is overcrowded with young people who never finished high school. Even the county sheriff isn't so sure zero-tolerance policies in school are the right answer.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of the people that frequent my jail are usually dropouts or people who do not have a formal education. We have to come up with ways and alternatives to make sure that not all of our kids are going to fall by the wayside.
3 of the 7 students are now in their 3rd-year freshman status. Why? Because they haven't been going to school enough for the past 3 years to go on to the next grade level. Their school absenteeism is atrocious.
Maybe they don't know that education is really important, but I think that's our job as a district, as a community, and as parents, to make sure, to guide them in the right way.
Enter Jesse Jackson. His organization descended on the normally placid Decatur from bigger cities like Chicago and St. Louis, attracting cameras by the dozen.
There were no guns involved, no gunshots, no knives, no blood loss, no permanent injuries. In many ways, there has been an overreaction to that fight.
Unfortunately, I think the kids in Decatur are being used as political pawns for other agendas from organizations outside Decatur.
For 2 days last week, schools here were closed for fear of trouble. When they finally opened, Decatur was looking like a city under siege. Under this hothouse pressure and the intervention of the governor, the school board backed down. It reduced the punishment to 1 year's expulsion and this time allowed the boys to attend an alternative school.
If they don't go to school in an alternative school program, put them out.
Even their lawyer says the boys deserve only one more opportunity to get back on track.
So give them a chance, but if they don't live up to that chance, put them out.
By now, it was clear the episode had also inflamed racial tensions that Decatur had been working hard to heal. Many whites resented the presence of Jesse Jackson's followers. Some African Americans claimed the schools punished black teens more severely in a system where 90% of the teachers are white.
Last academic year, there were 1,700 suspensions. 1,038 were African American students.
We have expelled white students for fighting. This is not something that has to do with the color of their skin. This has to do with violence. And we don't want violence in our schools.
But yesterday, another Jesse Jackson protest in Decatur, the biggest yet, emphasized a brand new demand. Reinstate the boys in their regular high schools by January. School officials say they are standing firm.
Coming back to the regular high school as if nothing had occurred is not the message that we want those students and the rest of our students to hear. I mean, they need to know that this is that if they behave in a way that is disruptive for other students in the school, that there are going to be consequences to that. And so...
They won't be coming back soon.
No.
Tonight, a threat from Jesse Jackson. If the Decatur School Board does not agree to his demands, he plans to take the expelled students back to school tomorrow morning, where all of them risk being arrested. In a telephone conversation today, Jackson told me, quote, "If there's no deal tonight, I'm going to jail tomorrow." When we come back, a conversation I had last evening with teachers, parents, and students here in Decatur.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Computer Associates.
Can a computer think? Can it learn? Can software be developed that acts exactly like the human brain? For 50 years, that's been the question. Today, Nugents are the answer. Using a patented breakthrough in neural network technology, Computer Associates has created the first software that can think. Imagine what this new software can do for your business. Nugents, software that can think.
Airbags, a steel safety cage, and a whiplash protection seating system. All the safety you'd expect in a Volvo. At a price you may not. Introducing the Volvo S40.
Great walk, huh, Jake? You're next, Carl.
On World News tonight, what does it mean to a boy who doesn't have the same kind of freedom these kids have? We'll talk to a boy who went to prison for murder when he was 14.
Can you make the sick well, restore hope in young children? For 20 years, Northwest Medical Teams has. In 1991, an eye surgeon from Eye Health Northwest traveled on a mission of mercy to Romania. Orphans received a life-changing eye correction procedure, giving them hope for a brighter tomorrow.
Reaching into the next century with hope and healing hands. Call Northwest Medical Teams. You can help support volunteers like the team of eye surgeons at Eye Health Northwest in making a powerful difference around the world.
One question aroused fierce passions for centuries. What's for dinner? Until the day a great mediator appeared. The new Maytag Gemini range. Come into Sears and see this amazing range that allows you to cook 2 different foods at 2 different temperatures for one complete meal. Get both these great mail-in rebates during Maytag week at Sears.
Joining us now from Decatur, Illinois, our group of parents, teachers, and students here in Decatur. It seems that school administrators are in a bit of a no-win situation. On the one hand, they're under enormous pressure to keep students safe in schools. And on the other hand, they're getting criticized if they act in a way that's perceived as too harsh. Jim Forster, I notice you're wearing one of those blue ribbons in support of the school board. What do you think of this zero-tolerance policy?
I think that one of the things we need to examine when we talk about a zero-tolerance policy is the intent behind the policy. I think the zero-tolerance policy was created in our district to provide an opportunity to have a safe educational environment for our students and our staff. That was the intent behind the policy. I think the flip side of that is if we don't send a message to our young people in our community that our schools are going to be safe, then what would be the appropriate policy?
Dana, aren't there some shades of nuance in there, though?
Yes, I understand the intent behind zero-tolerance policy, but I don't think it works. You're trying to keep violence away, but how are these kids that got expelled for 2 years going to pull their lives together after being out of school for 2 years? They might resort to violence later on in their lives to make ends meet. Or with the zero-tolerance policy, you should at least counsel them and tell them why you are expelling them. When I heard they had been expelled for 2 years and they hadn't been counseled, I wasn't surprised. Because last year I got suspended for a day because a girl verbally attacked me, and so my dean sent me home. They didn't counsel me, they didn't ask me what happened. They just sent me home.
I think sometimes, though, we use the words expulsions and suspensions, and they're 2 very, very different things. And when some of the young people talk about the word suspension, oftentimes it is the last resort for a school district and for school staff. If a young person has gotten to a point where they are being suspended from school, oftentimes what has happened is within the classroom, the teacher has tried a number of different strategies to try to get that situation resolved. They may involve a social worker like myself, or they may involve a counselor, or they may involve a trip to the dean, which would be our disciplinary personnel, and they in turn would try to come up with some sort of resolution.
Tina, you were trying to jump in.
I was going to say, with the expulsion, yes, it was excessive, but before this was done, they should have looked at other alternatives for these students before that was done, and it was not done. Bottom line, there's a right and there's a wrong way to do things.
And also, the alternative program should have been offered before it got to the expulsion stage. That, I think that's what caused and triggered the problem. They went all the way to the most extreme punishment of 2 years without offering the alternative program. And I think what we're hearing now from superintendents all over the state, even the state superintendent himself, saying that those young men should have been offered alternative programming before it got to this point.
Exactly, and he stated that it should have been offered, and it was not.
At the same time, it took enormous pressure from Jesse Jackson and from the governor and from other officials before the school board made this decision. Did it take this sort of outside pressure to make a decision that may have been more reasonable in the first place.
Chris, I take exception to one thing you said, because they did not say it was only a 2-year expulsion. They did give them the option of coming back at the end of the year from the get-go. They did say that if you do your community service, if you get your education through another means, and the governor did step in and say he would make it available for them to have the alternate school, then you can indeed be reinstated. That was from the beginning. They're given right now a tremendous opportunity to make some substantial changes in their lives, and I don't think there's a member here that would not say that we would support whatever they would do. And I really think it's important that we look at that in terms of these young men have a future. Whether they choose to do something with it or not is totally their choice.
We exert a tremendous amount of effort in trying to get those young people back on the right track, so to speak. But at the same time, one has to begin to weigh a limited amount of staff that we have and a limited number of resources that we have, and we have to try to find a delicate balance between the rights and the needs of a few and the rights and the needs of the many. And there are times where young people, we have to make a tough decision and say, you know, that we're going to work with the young people that are here and that are doing the right thing. And that's not to slight those students that are most at risk or the most needy.
You're saying it's justified to expel students sometimes.
Yes, I think that that's an option that we have to always have available to us, because there are going to be certain situations and certain individuals that I believe have lost the right to the opportunity to an education.
But what happens to those students when they're expelled? We'll talk about that when we come back.
We are 345.6 miles from El Paso, Texas. Austin is north-northeast, turning south-southeast. Dry cleaner is 3.4 miles away. Buenos Aires. I am 45 feet above sea level. 47.
Should have bought you a tie.
You rely on Amazon.com for electronics and all sorts of gifts. They rely on priority mail to get it there fast and to save you money.
At this pace, we would get there in 12 days.
What's your priority?
Like an eagle. As you might expect, Teller and I don't see eye to eye on investing. I like to avoid risk. Teller's a little more daring. We do, however, share the same new way to trade online.
Introducing Power Street by Fidelity, the first site with trading tools customized by Lycos to fit your unique way of doing things.
Look, the market's up. Or, in your case, down.
Power Street Online Trading. To find out how you could win free trades for life, visit Fidelity.com.
These days you hear a lot about e-commerce, and usually it's about companies with names that end in .com. Actually, e-commerce is for any company that wants a better way to do business, like respond faster to the market, or work better with partners and customers. At Microsoft, we've helped thousands of companies build on their existing systems to create the kinds of e-commerce solutions that can make any business run smarter.
Coming up, PI's Guide to Tipping.
And it's always about food. You go to the hardware store, the proctologist, nothing.
Bon appetit, politically incorrect.
This is the new body language. Words usually reserved for your face are finally possible all over with new Olay Daily Renewal Body Wash. It continually improves your skin each time you shower, making it resilient, more radiant, with more even tone than any other body wash. New Daily Renewal Body Wash from Oil of Olay. Proven to transform your skin.
Can you make the sick well? Restore hope in young children? For 20 years, Northwest Medical Teams has. In 1989, the first mobile health care clinic was launched, providing needed health care for low-income families and the homeless. Today, 5 vans bring care to thousands across the Northwest. Reaching into the next century with hope and healing hands. Call Northwest Medical Teams. Help make a powerful difference around the world.
Their important work is made possible with support from Pearson Financial Group.
Joining us again are a group of parents, teachers, and students here in Decatur, Illinois. I want to raise the point that Jim was making just before, which is you seem to be saying that, look, the schools are overburdened the way they are right now, and it's really not the school's responsibility to take care of the worst kids. On the other hand, the sheriff is saying, wait a minute, those kids are coming to me if we don't do something else. Where is the sort of middle ground between those two extremes? Cindy?
Well, it just comes to mind that this country doesn't value education, or they'd be putting a lot more money towards it. They want schools to do these things for children that are having problems, but then you have 25 or 30 kids in a classroom, and a teacher can't do that. They can't give each and every student the education and time that they need. We need the resources so that the classes can be a lot smaller, and so that teachers can do those one-on-one types of things. So teachers can do special things with those children that are having some problems. Perhaps work with some parents that are having trouble dealing with their child, give them some education. But we're dealing with a system that is underfunded.
At the same time, we're seeing something else here across the country. In the wake of Columbine and Pearl, Mississippi, and these other instances, an enormous number of school districts have adopted these zero-tolerance policies. The question is that a knee-jerk reaction, and is there time for some refinement of that now?
I think you'd have to define the zero tolerance. As a country, Chris, we're frightened. We are a frightened people right now, because no other time in modern history, in our lifetimes anyway, has there been such violence to such extreme measures by such young people.
At least that's what you're seeing on television. I think if you look at the figures, juvenile violence is about steady over the last few years. So there's a perception anyway.
It didn't come into our living rooms
violence.
though, like it does now. I mean, now it's a personal issue, because with the media and you know, cable and all those types of things. I mean, when some tragedy like Columbine or any of the other ones happens, we're going to hear about it right away, and we're going to track it all day long, and we're going to do interviews, and it becomes a very personal thing at that point.
Does that justify sort of this knee-jerk crackdown that you're seeing across the country?
I think that the zero tolerance policy that we have at our schools is justified to an extent. I mean, the parent and the child have to sit down, and the parent has to tell the child, I am trusting the school with you. You have to follow all their disciplinary measures and their rules. If you do not follow this, the consequence you get will be your fault.
Desi, you bring up a real good point. Where does accountability come in? What are the consequences? You know, you said yourself, your parent sits down with you and says, if you do this at school, this will be your consequence at home. The whole idea that we are accountable for our own actions is something that seems to be eroded tremendously in this country. And I don't think Decatur is new. I don't think this is unique at all. We as a society are saying, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault.
Project that
The
responsibility
schools
off
didn't
onto
do
someone
it.
else.
My parents didn't do it. The schools didn't do it. Who did it? Whose responsibility is it for our own behavior?
Right, the community as a whole.
The community
It is
as a
all
whole.
of
But it
the
starts
educators,
in the
the
home,
parents,
Tina.
and the students. Yes, it does start at home.
It starts
But,
at
you know,
home.
like you stated earlier, we need more parent involvement. And there are some children, it's too bad, but they don't have that parent involvement. So we as a community have to, you know, to help these kids, we have to be their parent.
There's an elephant in the room that nobody's been talking about tonight, and that is the question of race. Here in Decatur, in this one episode, people have been trying to be careful to say this was not about race, this was about violence. But in fact, all of these students were African Americans. The school district is not evenly diversified, and obviously Reverend Jackson has raised the question of race. To what extent, Jeffrey, does race matter in this debate?
Well, I think what happens is the young men were not expelled because they were African American males. They were expelled because they were fighting at a football game.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, what happens is how you handle situations. Before Reverend Jackson came to town, it was stated publicly that there was no need for him to show up because the mind was not going to be changed. And when you say that, it's a slap in the African Americans community's face because we respect Reverend Jackson as a leader and someone who we know that will come and look into issues. And I don't believe it would have been said if it had been someone else. So when you say that, you automatically polarize the community. Now, is it a racial issue? I'll let someone else answer that.
Dana, when you look at a school district and the African-American percentage is a little bit more than 40%, and the percentage of teachers, African-American teachers, is around 5%, is there a cultural gap that accounts for some of the difficulty, or is that not a fair question to raise?
You can't go back, and you don't know what would happen if they were all white students, but I think it's definitely a race issue. If it wasn't, Jesse and the Rainbow Push Coalition wouldn't be here. At my school, there have been white students that have gone to a student's house and beat him down. He had to go to the hospital, the student that they attacked, and they were still in school. They didn't get expelled.
Desi, what's your take on that, your perspective?
I think people are making it out to be a race issue. I think they would have got expelled if they were white.
Jesse Jackson has also stated from the beginning that this is not a race issue. The Rainbow Coalition has stated it is not a race issue. Even the black community keeps stating that it is not, a race issue, but it keeps coming up. And now, wake up, people, it is. And we have to deal with it. That's the bottom line. We have to deal with it.
I believe that this is a situation that's about school safety, it's about appropriate behavior, and it's about discipline. And that's what it is. And regardless of whether these young men were all African-American or European-American or some mixture, that's what we need to continue to come back to, is trying to promote an environment here that's a safe educational environment for all the kids involved. And whether those young people involved are male, female, black, or white, the issue still is we want a safe educational environment. And that's what this issue really boils itself back down to.
I'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight. It was kind of you to participate. I'll be back with a word about tomorrow's Nightline in a minute.
Let's see some D! D! D!
Log on to dsports.com, the ultimate sporting goods store. dsports.com, seize the D.
Dad had the Liftmaster man put up a new garage door opener for me. I've only been driving for a couple of years. He's got this cool safety reversing sensor. Something gets in the way while the door's going down, goes back up, all by itself. So tell your folks to call a professional, the Liftmaster garage door opener man. He did a real nice job. Bye.
Size 4 dress, $45. Autofocus camera, $260. 5 generations in one photograph. Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
This is our art. We sculpt in metal, paint in G-forces. You won't find our work in museums, for we are artists of the streets. Our art places form in harmony with function, moves body and soul. Cars are our passion. Engineering is our art. Acura.
Today on IHOP Reveal, we'll uncover how they really come up with wacky IHOP breakfast names. Behind IHOP scenes, we found this panel of supposed breakfast naming geniuses. But our hidden cameras reveal that these masterminds simply pull names out of a hat. And that's why they're called scrambles. The ranch scramble is stuffed with ham, tomato, and onion, then smothered with cheese and served with hash browns and buttermilk pancakes from $2.99. However, we could not find out how they chose any time's a good time for IHOP. In 4 days,
He's the best we have.
the wait is over. The world is yours.
James Bond is here.
On November 19th. The World Is Not Enough, rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
Panic attacks. A Channel 2 News special report tomorrow at 5.
Brighten your day. Wake up with Steve Dunn and Natalie Marmion on Channel 2 News this morning. Watch weekday mornings from 5 to 7 a.m.
Tomorrow on Nightline, Project 2000, an experimental program to educate African-American boys and surround them with male role models. ABC News special series, America's Sons, continues tomorrow. And that's our report for tonight. I'm Chris Bury in Decatur, Illinois. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Earlier tonight, sure, it didn't take long for Darren Despain, Dan Diggy, and Brent Austin to rack up $128,000. But now it's Jennifer Mullins' turn. She